From the station that made country music famous, 650 AM WSM, this is a Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast. Hey, it's Charlie Matos, and in this episode of our Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast, we sit down with one of our favorite singer-songwriters, Will Hoge. New album coming out soon, but a brand new single out called John Prine's Cadillac. We would feature that, talk about the album, and just catch up with life in general with Will Hoge on our Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast.
That is Eli Young Band, Even If It Breaks Your Heart. You mentioned this was the first song ever.
The skyline of Music City and this song playing the first song ever on ABC's Nashville.
Right.
And the first voice you hear is of our former colleague Eddie Stubbs.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
That's correct, yes. And you,
really?
I believe, were on several episodes.
I was.
A handful, actually, which is more than several.
I can tell you in my history of acting.
Yes.
Which is long and storied.
Yes.
I was on Nashville, I think, 5 times. All 5 times I was screaming a question at another person.
Wait, so do you have your own IMDb page?
Yes. It's not. It is not correct. Hey, look who just walked in. It's Will Hoge. We're going to trade that.
I'm going to the IMDb right now.
Subject change. How are you guys?
How are you?
So good. Do you want to scream any questions at me?
I should. Should I? Where were you the night she died? That's basically my acting career.
The lights are bright enough for that kind of questioning in here.
It really
so it's
is.
Good. Yeah.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm so good.
Good.
So you and I have battled the same things this week, though, because you were scheduled at 8:30 this morning, and we kind of had to bounce things around.
That's right.
And my little guy is 9 and going to summer camp, and every day has changed depending on if it's going to be 114 degrees outside, then we're doing inside, and we got to get him dressed for this as opposed to this.
That's right.
And you're battling the same thing.
Yeah, so
All
I've
the
got
things.
high school orientation with one, and then basketball summer camp with another. And
You said high school orientation.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
Freshman
crazy.
in high school. I
Oh.
know. He'll officially be smarter than me in like 4 minutes. He'll have more formal education than me in about 2 weeks.
Well, starting all the things. It's like you love to do all of life's things all at once. So let's get our kids in high school.
That's right.
Let's release a new album. Let's put out new music.
Yeah, and then your wife's starting a new therapy practice too. So there's all those things too.
Oh,
So,
good.
yeah, it's good.
And then throw in that tour that you're going to be doing with Dave Haas that
That's
I saw
right.
coming up, my buddy Dave.
That's right.
You guys are so much fun together.
I love
Listen,
him.
I did something with Dave Haas. It was probably 7-8 months ago, and we start talking about you. And I basically laughingly referred to you as the unofficial mayor of Nashville.
Right.
And he absolutely agreed because he came into town, really hadn't done a whole lot here. And you showed him the sights, took him around, meet and 3, fed him up. You did all the things.
And made a record in the middle of it,
Yeah.
too. So that was the fun part.
That's all the good things.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about, living here and making records here is when you can get folks to come here and really get immersed in all of the great things about Nashville. It's more than just, the 4 blocks downtown and bridal showers and things like that.
The Woo Girls.
The Woo Girls. And it's really, it's such a wonderful thing to do, to get to bring people here and make records, and they get to really immerse themselves in the community that is still Nashville. The things that I think we probably all loved growing up here or made us want to move here, and the things that we really haven't lost and hope we never do.
You grew up here, though.
I did.
Right? I mean, from baby on, or did you guys move here?
No,
when you were
my
middle
folks,
school?
my grandparents grew up here.
Oh,
my
wow.
folks grew up here. I was born here, and then we moved to Franklin when I was 5 or 6.
Okay.
But then, that was a very different thing, too. So.
It is so much fun to see how you have really ingrained and come in and out of the country music world, because you in your music, I don't know that you would be under the country umbrella per se, but then I start to see, you're writing with different people. People are cutting your songs and it all starts working together. Did you always just want to do your brand of music? Did you always feel like it was country adjacent, or how would you describe it?
I was always going to do my own for sure, and some of that was out of necessity. I wasn't really good enough as a musician. There's certain musicians that you can go, okay, well, that guy's just a great guitar player. He can play anything, or that guy can sing anything. And I never fit that bill, so I always knew that I was going to sort of chase my own star that was going to be a little oddball. It wasn't going to fit 100% into anything.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful and frustrating all at the same time.
I was going to say, that has to be, because you're doing what you want to do in your heart.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then, this friend over here just got a #1 hit and bought a new car.
Yeah.
So, it's not always the easiest way.
No,
easiest
but
path.
and the country thing was always such a huge influence. Growing up here, obviously, it's just
Right.
It's in everything you see and do, and in good ways. And the storytelling part, the simplicity, and I mean that as a compliment, of what country music is really based on, as a writer, was always hugely influential to me, because they were stories that you could listen to or wanted to tell, or there were characters that you recognized, and that to me was always incredibly attractive. And so parts of that were always in my writing and things like that. So when the country world at large opened its arms to me, and continues to at times, there's other times where it closes off a little bit, and understandably so.
Right.
But I'm always real flattered by it. It's a family. It's a big dysfunctional family that I'm always proud to be a part of. Coming from a big dysfunctional.
We put the fun in dysfunctional,
That's right.
honey. That's what we do here in country music.
And I love that. I really, like I say, I'm flattered to be a part of it any way that I can be.
New song coming out.
Yeah.
John Prine's Cadillac. Tell us about that.
Well, it's sort of in that same vein. John Prine, growing up here, was just a really hallowed figure for me. And he sort of fit the mold for sort of what we were talking about even there. He started his own record label because he didn't really fit anywhere. And he was always going to make John Prine music. And other people would still cut his songs, and he would have these little flirtations with success commercially through other people. So I just loved and adored him as a writer, and the time we got to spend together was always really special. And when we lost him back during COVID, you just read all these incredible tributes and stories from people that had just fans or other musicians, and there was just such joy that he had brought to, I feel like, everyone. I was really enamored by that joy. And I thought back to this memory I had of, I was driving down from 12 South one day towards Arnold's.
Yeah.
And I looked over at a red light, and there was John in his Cadillac with his sunglasses on. And he was sort of grinning and sort of tapping his finger on the steering wheel. And you could just, I cracked my window, like, what is he doing? And you could just barely hear, the din of music coming out of his car, but I couldn't make out what it was. And light turned green and sort of pulled away, and then he turned left into Arnold's, and I drove on. And for years I thought about, what was John Prine listening to? It brings him that joy that his music kind of brings everybody else. And like I say, after the loss of him, I really struggled with that, and that memory kept coming back. And so I really just wanted to put that in a song to try to also cope with, in this really dark time with everything that seemed so bleak. I felt really good about my life. I was getting to spend more time at home with my kids than I'd ever gotten to do. So I was trying to mine these little nuggets of joy out of such a dark time, and I think he was always so great at that. So I kind of wanted that as a tribute to him.
Man, he was incredible. Hey, we're going to talk more with Will Hoge coming up in just a few minutes.
Coming out of the speakers in the back of John Prine's Cadillac. John Prine's Cadillac.
New music from Will Hoge. You just heard it, John Prine's Cadillac. And it's off the new album that you can pre-save. Wings on My Shoes, coming out in August. You're heading out on tour Friday. What's today? Tuesday? Yeah.
I haven't even looked. But it's sometime this week.
So you're going to be doing a band show out on the road?
Yeah, we got the band going out kind of, we put out a record called Tiny Little Movies right at the start of the global pandemic, which for any of you thinking about releasing a record, the start of a global pandemic is a wonderful time to put a record out.
Really good. Really
solid solid marketing plan.
You Zoomed with us for that record.
I did.
Yeah, you were one of our 500 Zoom interviews.
Right. No one was doing Zoom. Yeah. We were way out of the curve.
Yeah.
So the band is now in this, thing of where we've got a 2-year-old record that we're still trying to finally get out and play songs from as we prepare for a brand new record to come out in August. So the band goes out this week for a couple of weeks, and then we're home, and then the song swap tour with Dave Haas starts, which I'm really excited about.
It has to be so much fun to go out. And now, looking back, you've got this huge catalog. You've got all these songs that people want to hear, but then you bring in the new stuff. How does that work? You just kind of weave it all in? Because you can't hit them in the face with all the new, right? Unless you bill it as that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I have the luxury of having... This sounds self-deprecating, and I don't mean for it, but I don't have hits. Like, I have a song.
You do?
I have a song or two that people have recorded that are great, but I mean, no one is coming to my show specifically like, when you go see George Strait's got 32 number ones, so that's a bad example. But, there are certain artists that's like, okay, they've got the 3 songs I want to hear. There's people that are coming to my shows, I think they hope that they hear certain songs, but there's nothing that's like, if he doesn't play that, I'm done as a fan, and I'm fortunate enough to have that. So we just try to sort of keep the show entertaining and really just something that people want to come back and see again and again.
There you go, everybody. Go see him again and again and again. WillHoge.com. That's where you can get all your information. Pre-save the new album. Thank you for coming in.
It's so good to see y'all. Thanks for this.
All right, we'll be back right after this.
Keep my Christmas tree lit up all year long. You got me.
Thanks for listening to our Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast. Our program director at WSM Radio is J. Patrick Tittle. Our digital producer is Haley Hall. Marketing and promotions director is Amanda Cannon. And I'm Charlie Matos. If you like what you've heard, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And leave us a review on iTunes. It really does help new people find the show.